In this chugasode, yar, milk in my cup, you know we getting turned up. While with altcoins across the board and Bitcoin taking a tumble this morning, will Bitcoin be able to defend the 21-day moving average? This is our 6th day in a row being above this absolutely key moving average, but will we be able to defend it? And if not, what is the lowest we can go to continue this bullish momentum? And as well, is this on-chain metric actually signaling something mysterious for Bitcoin's price? Girl, you be making me squirrel. Are traders actually rotating now into Bitcoin? And what can we expect for altcoins going into Q4 of 2020? Guys, we're still extremely early in the week, but are we going to actually be getting another retest of this absolutely savage 21 weekly moving average for Bitcoin? And what is going on with some of these altcoins? Specifically, Chainlink is testing an absolutely key area, and if we can't hold here, guys, we're going to drop back down to this level and potentially actually form a very interesting double bottom pattern. And guys, as we talked about yesterday, this 50-day moving average for the SPX is obviously providing some resistance. Now, this will determine throughout the rest of the week, I think, what is most likely going to occur throughout the cryptocurrency space. Wow, welcome back everyone to an insanely vital, critical Bitcoin episode. Wow, like my math teacher always used to say in confidence, milk, lemonade, around the corner is where the eggs are laid. Pretty weird she was telling that to a 10-year-old. Guys, huge, we have some very key data to be jumping into. We have some on-chain data that we're gonna be looking at. And one of my favorite topics of today is what exactly is going on with altcoins. Because as you guys, I'm sure you've seen, altcoins are absolutely getting pummeled. They're getting absolutely smashed, filled to the brim with pain. And will this continue? Or are we going to see a quick turnaround? So obviously we're going to be dumping into that in this webisode. And what is coming for Bitcoin's price. So guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, turn on post notifications so you get updated when we upload new videos like this. Leave your comment below to enter for this ledger. We were within just inches of that like goal yesterday. But as long as we can hit 900 likes in this webisode, then we'll be giving away this ledger in the next webisode. And guys, as well, if you have experience trading and you want to help support the channel, make sure to take advantage of those deposit bonuses listed on some of our preferred exchanges below. And there's some trading fee reductions as well. So guys, wow, we can actually start off with the culprit, the SPX. What I think is very much in control of Bitcoin's current price movement. Especially, I think we have actually one of our first debates here between the two presidential candidates for this upcoming election, only about a month away in the US. And guys, a lot of you, I'm sure you're very aware that this is going to impact the world markets, right? The US, whether you like it or not, is pretty influential in the space, albeit probably less influential than it previously has been. But we have a debate tonight, we have the US election coming up, and all of that obviously is going to play a factor in this Bitcoin analysis, in traditional stock analysis. It will just 100% impact the markets, so we can't forget about that. And with the SPX here, obviously guys, we did bounce on that weekly, 21 weekly, which is very good. But on these shorter time frames, I think there's still some turbulence as we're obviously getting a slight pullback on this 50-day moving average. But I mean, so far, this is not even, I mean, this is actually pretty bullish so far. We've only gotten a few points rejection off of this 50-day moving average. Not actually significantly bad at all. So I'll be interested to see throughout this week if we're going to be able to push above this, okay? We do have a potential bearish cross looming here if this price action does continue to go south, with the 21-day moving average potentially crossing below the 50-day moving average, which we actually saw on Bitcoin back on September 8th. And again, nothing really bad has happened because of that, okay? Just because it's a bearish cross doesn't necessarily mean, one, that there will be a dump, or two, the dump will be immediately, right? It doesn't necessarily mean either of those things. But they're important to keep in mind, especially more for resistance as we try to break back above after getting a bearish cross. So on Bitcoin's chart, something very absolutely vital we see here is that the 21-day moving average is playing support so far. We've been hugging on this line for a fair amount of time now, right about 10,650. Okay, we're literally, I mean, let's actually take a deep zoom into this. Yeah, we're literally, I mean, guys, look, 1, 2, 3, out of the last 6 days, we have at least wicked down to this 21-day moving average. Exactly. So back on September 25th, I mean, literally, these are bouncing right at the wick. So it's very interesting to see today. Will this be a bloody week? I think will be determined. But again, guys, if we don't set higher highs, then ultimately the trend is still down. As we talked about yesterday, we had this high here. We had this lower high where we got a significant rejection once that was cemented. Also, I mean, it was a pretty clear head and shoulders pattern broke down, but then we also have this lower high, and if this is truly our high, then that is a lower high, but we'll have to see if we actually can get a significant bounce right here. If we actually switch to this chart for Bitcoin, yesterday, you know how we got a pump above this 200 4-hour moving average, like we did here. We actually, this is actually a big part of the video, so we did go back below it, and we failed to get back above it here when we retested it on this 4-hour candle. And guys, if we get another rejection here, we could be seeing a pretty similar dump like we saw back here on September 21st, just about a week ago. So be very, very cautious and aware of that, because we could be seeing another dump similar to this one, guys, okay? This is key, as we were talking about the last few videos. Getting back above this yellow line, this 200 moving average on the 4-hour chart, is very key if we want to start flipping bullish, especially on these smaller time frames. And another rejection here. I personally think we're going to get a dump probably down to maybe 10,200, right? So pay attention to that. And then if we actually go to this 1-hour chart, it's actually been looking pretty bearish on the 1-hour chart, obviously. But one thing we want to note is that we're currently still bouncing exactly where we bounced just yesterday, right around 10,650. Now, this is just a huge area. But one thing I also want to mention, guys, with the possibility of a dump, maybe to like 10,002 or something like that, is becoming increasingly likely. The chances of us actually breaking below 10,000 are still, I think, personally pretty slim, right? We have so much accumulated support around that area. Bitcoin, I really just don't think wants to spend too much time around that area. But ultimately, what we need to refer to in that situation is the SPX, because if the SPX would actually come back down here, like we were on September 25th, and come back down to 3,200, is Bitcoin going to stay above 10K? Probably not. I personally don't think it will. So if the SPX starts dumping again, then this could actually turn more bearish for the market. And with that being said, the ultimate thing we've been watching here for Bitcoin is this. If we zoom all the way out, this very key horizontal support and this ascending channel we've been in for 6 months, ever since the crash at the beginning of March. As you can see here, guys, we followed these lines almost perfectly for the past 6 months, providing support and resistance over and over and over again on these daily candles. And as you can see, guys, we are barely hanging on to this. And if we break below this 21-day moving average, this is our last support, in my opinion, before we would get a more significant drop. Again, though, if we would only come down to 10,002 and not actually set a lower low here, because currently we have a few higher lows. Back here we had, I think we went all the way down to 9,800, and then we stopped out around like 10,150. And if we remain above that, then technically that's not too bearish, but we always have to keep in mind a potential revisit down to this 200 moving average, a 200 daily moving average, which would actually be right around 9,200. Okay, and that's another area we've been talking about for a while. Our two major pullback targets we've been talking about are 9,200 and about 8,600 at our lowest, right? So those are the levels we've been talking about for a few weeks on the channel. And guys, if we get a strong rejection here, then I think that becomes increasingly likely. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is altcoins, because that is really what I've been so interested in. For everybody following the channel, you guys know I love altcoins. Most of the money that I've made in crypto, about probably like 95% of the money that I've made in crypto has come from altcoins, not really Bitcoin, right? I do have Bitcoin, but I personally like trading and I like accumulating altcoins a lot. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. There's also a lot of trash and a lot of scams in altcoins. Obviously, there's like thousands of them, but I think they do represent, as a broad term, I think they do represent the best opportunity to make gains for the average person. But guys, if we actually go here, traders discussing what's next for Bitcoin after abrupt 3% overnight drop. So if we come down here, we see the Bitcoin versus price divergence model, and you can see here the number of active addresses, active Bitcoin addresses has been dropping, and you can see that here on this chart. And this actually goes all the way back, basically all the way back here to the crash in March to currently. So this is about a 6-month time frame that we see here, and you see the active addresses are actually pretty low. And the next thing I want to just point out here real quick is that traders are rotating into Bitcoin after, are kind of expecting a quiet Q4 for altcoins, as altcoins really have been by far the most exciting part of 2020. Altcoins have absolutely rallied. We spent months and months getting massive gains in our altcoins. DeFi was the talk of the town forever, right? And so altcoins have been the talk of the town. But a lot of people are actually rotating into Bitcoin as we're at a very key level. And one of the things that I want to highlight about this as well is that if we take a longer term look at Bitcoin, something we see after these halvings, a few months after the halvings, and a few months after we get some bottoms and we start trending upwards, you guys notice that it is, I mean, let's just be honest, it is pretty boring, actually discounting 2012, but it can be pretty boring for a while. And many people actually believe these cycles are kind of increasing little by little, meaning it'll take a little bit longer than the previous cycle for this cycle to complete, right? So that was the case for the first one. First one was a very quick turnaround, basically pumped up, straight back up after a nice dip. This one pumped up, and then it was like a more curved, it took a little bit longer to reach all-time highs. And some people actually expect that we could actually see just a continuation of that, where it might just be more sideways trading. It might just take a little bit longer to actually enter a bull market. So again, 2021, I'm still targeting for massive, life-changing gains and wealth. Okay, so if you're in now, you're still early and you're still looking good. But this area, I mean, even if we liken it back to around here, guys, this area does tend to be a little more boring. And this is on the monthly chart. So actually, let's go to the weekly just so you can get more data here. Yeah, you can see, I mean, we're barely out of this halving. We're only a few months away from the halving, about 5 months roughly since our last halving. But yeah, if there's ever going to be a period where Bitcoin is going to be a little less volatile and less exciting, it's literally now. I mean, if there's any time period for Bitcoin that it makes the most sense that it will be boring and sideways, then it's now. Okay, we're not in the middle of an explosive rally. We're also not in the middle of a massive dump, right? We just had an explosive rally a few years ago, and we just got out of a very dumpy environment very recently. So this is kind of that cooling off period before what we expect to be very massive gains for altcoins and for Bitcoin. So again, I wouldn't be surprised if this space does continue to be a little bit boring. Luckily for you, that'll keep the word on Bitcoin a little low so you can accumulate Bitcoin and altcoins before the masses really jump in. And guys, ultimately, I mean, 100%, that is what I believe without a doubt in my mind that that's exactly what's going to happen. That this is, I mean, obviously I'm very invested in this, not only financially, but also I'm fundamentally invested. I think this is the next step for money, right? I think this is the next massive wave of adoption for any technology. So again, these moves are not super important right now, but something we do want to note here as well on the weekly RSI, we're at a very key level yet again. So it'll be very interesting to see what plays out throughout the rest of the week. But the main takeaway I think from this video is that altcoins, I think we're going to get significant discount on altcoins, and I think that represents a very good opportunity that I'm actually taking advantage of. In fact, I actually purchased some more altcoins today. I added to about four or five of my altcoins in my bags today. And I actually sent out that information in our Telegram. Wow, guys, so if you're new to the channel, make sure to drop your comment for the ledger. We will 100% be giving away this tomorrow. Let's just smash this bad boy up. And as well, if you're interested in trading, make sure to sign up with our exchanges below, and you want to support the channel, you get some very nice discounts and some free deposit bonuses. And I will see you in the next Schwebisode.